Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 22. Today, we will deal with the town water desalinators. In the last video I deleted the old distillers, since they were rather inefficient at making water. The new setup will be a much better use of our resources in the long term. We also managed to unlock the next level of power generation a while ago, and we could take advantage of it by replacing the old generators with a new one. We won't be replacing the turbines themselves, upgrading those would only be a bit more space efficient, but would end up using tier 2 maintenance. We can just keep using the old turbines, and get the same benefit. By the end of the episode, we will also manage to get a few upgrades for the flagship, and get a modern warship as a result, which we can play with in the next episode. Before we get started, if this is not your first video from this channel, you already know what to expect. If you want to be kept up to date, please consider subscribing, and if you like what you see, leaving a like will also help letting me know what to focus on. But enough talking, let's get into it. We just got into a battle on the map at the very last second of the last video. Needless to say, we were victorious, and that node did just unlock nuclear power for us. Well, it unlocked the ability to research it, which we promptly added to the queue. So, how about we get started with something useful, like the water desalination plant for the town. As I've said in the intro, I deleted the distillers since those were rather inefficient at making water, so replacing them with these thermal desalinators are a big step up in efficiency. We could manage the town's need with only 3 of them, but as we've learned from the central water generation, a single boiler can supply enough steam for 4 of them, so might as well just go with that. We are also lucky that we can just use a single seawater pump for each desalinator, so there is no need to do any maths on that one. And as I've said, we can just use a single boiler to generate enough steam for all these to work at 100% efficiency. That's the inputs handled. Let's see how many liquid dumps we need. This time, I took the time to do the math. 42 brine for each desalinator, so 168 in total. A single pipe can dump 60 per minute, so we can get away with using only 3 of them. Also, since the total is below 200, we can just use the tier 2 pipes for this. But, merging the water output of all the desalinators will require a tier 3 pipe, since that one is above the capacity of the tier 2 ones. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take care of the pipe balancer at the town water storage. We will of course prioritize the water coming from the local desalinators, instead of the pipe on the main bus. Once we have the necessary construction parts, we will take care of the remaining buildings. We can just keep using the main bus water supply in the meantime. We can help out a little by opening the valve on the tier 1 construction parts warehouses, and we can also delete the old internal distribution belts, since we now have the new ones at the other side of the arrays. Okay, I am really not happy with the way these iron mine walls turned out. Time to replace them with something a bit more compact and less wasteful. Nice, we just got a new source of water on the world map. I kind of doubt we will ever use it, but it's nice to know it's there. It's starting to take shape. Now we just need to deal with the last T-junction. Yeah, I suppose this will do. Sure, we are wasting a bit of iron, but honestly, it's a drop in the ocean all things considered. We will just have to make peace with these trucks being stuck for a while. As the wall gets built, they will be able to access their sections over time. I can hardly believe how much we already discovered on the map. And we are still not done. Our little flagship have been busy, that's for sure. Anyways, time to set up the eventual coal drop-off harbor. We got the second to last version of it at this point, so we can build it, and upgrade it to the biggest one when it becomes available. Having it here would have been nice, but we can't fit it in. We will have to use the same orientation as we did with all the others. Later, we can upgrade it to have 8 cargo modules. And we just got poppy seeds. I think I can guess where we can make use of that in the future. Anyways, time to set up the belt system that will unload the coal coming in. I will try to make sure that no matter what, we will unload all the ship compartments equally. For that, we will need 3 balancers. The first two will merge all the outputs into the third one, which will in turn distribute all the coal into storages. Now that we have the biggest ones available, we might as well just go with those. And just to prepare for the last two cargo modules, we can place the belts for those too. We won't build it right now, we are a bit short on construction parts at the moment, but it's good that we have it laid out. I also enabled the population boosting edict. I want the settlement completely filled, so we can better judge our food consumption. Time to get busy. I think we should get a second tree planter. I have a feeling that we might need to set up a second forestry tower in the near future. Next, how about we take care of the copper mine ramp going down into the next level? Yeah, that's the way we should do it. Once the ramp is dug up, we can place the walls keeping the ramp in place. Here, I was looking at the different contracts we can use. They are a permanent source of materials after everything else runs out, so we should be ready for using them. I'll be honest, I only ever got to this part of the game once before, so I am far from knowledgeable about which ones are worth it. All I know is that there are players who managed to make completely self-sufficient islands out of them before, so it is encouraging that it's a possibility. Anyways, we also got started on upgrading the ship with the next level of armor. But that's not the only upgrade we will do today. How about we upgrade our power generation next? We got the next tier of turbines and generators already, so we might as well make use of them. But, here's the thing. We only really need to use the tier 2 generators, and the tier 2 cooling towers to get all the benefits. We can just keep using the tier 1 steam turbines to generate the mechanical energy. The only benefit we get out of the tier 2 ones are their smaller footprint. And if there is one thing we have a lot of on this island, it's space. So we will just keep using the tier 1 turbines. Plus, this way we can keep using tier 1 maintenance, since the tier 2 turbines would need the level 2 version. So that is also a plus point going for the tier 1 turbines. The only tangible upgrade comes from the generator itself. It can convert 18 megawatts of mechanical energy into 15 megawatts of electricity. The tier 1 generators were only capable of generating 12 megawatts out of the same amount of mechanical energy. So it is an actual upgrade. And here comes another big upgrade we can use. The tier 2 cooling tower. Previously, we needed two small ones to deal with the steam output of a single power shaft. Now, we can use a single big one to take in the depleted steam for two separate power plants. That is a much more efficient use of our resources. And since we can combine 2 power plants for 1 tower, I decided to convert the neighboring power shaft to this new setup. The 2 active ones can easily deal with the island's power consumption in the meantime. And here it is. Let's see how we can deal with all the new piping challenges. We will need to move the depleted steam into the inputs. I suppose we could just go over the turbines. Yeah. A bit unconventional, but I like it. As for the recondensed water, we can just pipe them back on top of the steam pipe. And of course, we will give priority to the water coming in from the cooling tower, so we can recycle some of the water we used. And that is pretty much it for this setup. Still managed to squeeze everything into the same width as the old power plants, but it is a bit shorter, and more symmetrical, which is always a big plus in my book. But, how about we lower the central pipe where the depleted steam merges toward the cooling tower? Completely unnecessary, but I thought it would look a bit more interesting this way. Well, with that, all the current wall pieces are finished. Let's continue building the rest. This construction part shortage is a bit annoying. All the concrete we are making goes toward the wall building efforts, so very little makes it to the factories right now. Hey, at least the town water desalinator is up and running. Before we leave this alone, we should also send some of the water back to the boiler, so trucks don't have to keep supplying it. There. I specifically used the smallest pipe, since it can deal with the throughput just fine, plus it can hold less water than the big ones. Alright. Once the cooling tower is finished, this twin power plant is good to go. And I just discovered what was eating up all the Tier 2 construction parts. I started upgrading one of the oil rigs, and all the parts were loaded on the ship. Hopefully we will see a bit more from now on. I suppose we could help out a little by opening the valves on the Tier 1s. Nice. The twin power plants are fully operational. But, we still have a bit of excess steam clogging up the system, so let's give the tower a small unity boost to clear out the pipes. And that should do it. I really want to get started on the refinery, but we don't have the construction parts. Once we are stable with those, we can get going, but not before. We need the new one to be operational as soon as possible once the old one is gone. And we can upgrade the ship with the next level of bridge. This will change the old World War II warship into a modern-looking destroyer. Can't wait. We should also set up an alert for the town water coal storage. Just in case. And here comes the part where I make a bit of a mistake setting up the next level of the retaining walls at the coal mine. To make room for the next level of the ramp, we needed to push this little corner back by one. It might look okay right now, but once we dig up the corner, some of the walls will collapse. There's our first victim. Sadly, we cannot really deal with the upper levels anymore. So this part will be a bit ugly until we are done mining, and start filling this pit back up. You know what? To hell with it. Let's just start digging the ramp, and deal with all the destruction now. It will have to be done sooner or later anyway, so might as well rip off that band-aid. Maybe we can salvage this by not digging out the landing for the last layer, and just start the mining next to the ramp. Okay, that excavator is digging out that side designation. We just might be able to get away with it. Far from ideal to say the least, but we are at the literal last level at this point, so I'm not all that bothered about it. For now, let's just send them back to the original designations, and let's see if we can salvage this mess. Okay, we can build some walls here, which is kind of nice. If we move that wall back by a bit, we should even be able to dig out a landing. Nice, we got the ship upgrade for a bigger fuel tank. Now we can reach much further. Yeah, things are a bit misaligned. Let's move those walls back by one tile, and things should work out much better. Okay, all this wall building is starting to be a bit much, so we might as well just leave it at that. Okay, we have a pretty healthy looking Tier 3 construction stockpile now. We just might be able to get going with the refinery reorganization in the next episode. Also, what's up with this belt? It doesn't seem to carry anything. Oh, right. It was for the bricks when we had them on the bus. We might as well just delete it, and reclaim some of the materials from it. We can rebuild it when we have a use for it. We can also fix this little kink in the iron line going to the Tier 1 construction factories. It was one of the reasons why I wanted to move the internal belts to the other side in the first place. And I can see no better image to close out on than this. Our new warship. Can't wait to give it a whirl in the next episode. Speaking of, I think we will be able to get going on the refinery at last. We can also replace the cargo dock for it with the bigger one, and start organizing things into well-defined arrays, like we did at the factories. We can have one line for the first stage of distillation, another for the second stage, a separate area for steam generation, another for sour water stripping, so on and so forth. Our inefficient setup is the reason why I don't want to get into Tier 2 electronics in mass quantities right now. We really need to get a handle on the chemical industries first, and only deal with the rest after that. We could also set up a small hydrogen generator at the biodiesel plant. Anyways, if you haven't done it already, I'd love it if you subscribe to the channel, and leaving a like would also let me know that this video was worth making. If you feel that it was good enough, and you can afford it, please consider going to my Ko-fi page, which you can find in the description, and donate an amount that you feel is appropriate. And if you did like what you've seen, there should be links to some of my other videos and playlists on the screen. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.